Hey you guys, a progress indicator in Filemaker Pro. Someone asked me about it and I thought, that's not really possible. But then I looked it up and there's a neat little trick you can use to make it work. So for instance, here I've got a total of 100 and a value of 65. If I change that to 35, you will see over here that my progress indicator updates. And here as well, I've got a whole list of values that uses the same total of 100, but that uses this value as my value, like here. So if I delete something over here, this total will change and this progress indicator will go back. So let's delete this and I'll put this one here. See, it updates, and if I just add something here, the progress indicator will go up as well. Actually, I don't know what it does if it reaches above 100. Yep, this is 104, but it's just filled up. Okay, so how could you do this in FileMaker? Let's have a look. So let's open up a file that I've got here, and it's a very simple file. If we go to File, Manage Database, what we see is we have one single table. This table is called Progress, and in it there is an ID field, which is an auto enter serial field, and two number fields. I've got a value and I've got a total. Very, very, very simple. So my value could be something like 25, like as if it would be 25% out of a total of 100, for instance. Now, the way that progress indicator works, it is actually not really a native FileMaker thing. It's actually HTML that we're putting in a web viewer. Now, if we look at HTML, we've got such a thing as there's an HTML progress tag. So there's a progress tag here, which is basically, this is it. That's the progress tag, and that is the end of the progress tag. And this progress tag has two values in it. It has or two settings, if you will. It has a value, and in this case the value is 70, and it has a maximum of 100. So if you would use that, and this here is like just a little piece of text that's in between, that would be the thing that you would see in your HTML. And if you use this tag, this HTML tag, you can basically create yourself a progress indicator. Now, there are these two values in here, so the 70 and the 100. In this case, they're kind of fixed in here in this HTML progress tag, but I would like to get them to use the data from these fields. Now, if you're going to use HTML, then you're going to need a bunch of like other HTML type stuff in the beginning and in the end. So in the end, your whole your actual HTML is going to look like this. You've got data text / HTML. You've got HTML tag, a body with the style of the border and a margin, and then you have this whole progress thing, and then you have an ending HTML, ending body, and an ending HTML tag. So all of this stuff is your like entire HTML file for your entire HTML file for your progress. If you would do this in a web page, this would give you a little progress indicator. So what we can do now is we can just copy this stuff, and then we can bring this into FileMaker. And what we can do is we can create a little web viewer. So we can just create this over here, and then we can create a custom web address, and then we can specify this web address. So we can just take all of this, we can paste this stuff in here, but this is not really going to work. If we would hit OK here, I don't know what it would say, but it's going to say the specified table cannot be found. Yeah, because already in the beginning there's a problem. Now, if you're going to be using calculations, if you want to put some text in a calculation, you need to put quotation marks around it. And if you're going to use multiple text, like if you do another text 2, you would have to put quotation marks around that text as well, and then you have to put some sort of an operator in here, which can be found here. So you need to use like quotations, you need to use the ends. If you want to use a new line, you need to have this one, a new paragraph. So you need all kinds of stuff to make this whole thing work. And the stuff you're going to need is, for instance, to start with, for every text we will need quotations. So let's put quotation at the beginning and a quotation at the end, and let's do this for every part right here. So quotation at the beginning, quotation at the end. Oops. There you go. Now, in order to combine all of these, we're going to need to have these AND operators. There you go. Let's put them in here. But now we've got a problem, because we are using these quotation marks, but inside our HTML there are also additional quotation marks. And what I need to do is I kind of need to comment those out, because otherwise FileMaker will look at this part as a part that is between quotations, and this one is then not within quotations, which is not correct, because I need for this whole part to be within these two quotations, like this and this one. So what I need to do is I need to comment these out with a backslash. So I need to put a backslash in front of every quotation that I need to have and that I kind of need to keep. Okay, I think this looks kind of good. Let's have a little go. Let's try to hit OK. And I'm going to uncheck all of these options because I just want a clean little web viewer. Let's try this out and see if this works. Okay, so my progress bar is working, but it's giving me that fixed value that I had in there before, which was 27%. It's not using these values right now. So what I need to go and do now is I need to go back in there and I need to edit some more stuff. So what I need to do is I need to get this 70 value and the 100 value. I need to get those out. So what I'm going to do is, to make it kind of easy for myself, is I'm going to create a few returns here and here as well. There we go. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create an extra bunch of AND operators before and after these values. Okay, that's good. But now I've got probably some more problems here, because now this is one like complete part, but it ends with this quotation that is kind of commented out. So I need to add an extra quotation here. This one starts with a quotation, but that's commented out, so I need to add another quotation in the beginning, and this is commented out as well, so I need to add another one here. This one is commented out, so I need another quotation there, and I think that's probably kind of about it. Now these two need to be replaced, because the 70 can't just be a fixed value. I need to have my field here, and the total of 100 also needs to be this one. Okay, cool. Let's try and see if there are any errors. Okay, no errors. That looks kind of good. Let's see if this is working already or not. Let's hit exit layout. Okay, I've got 25 in here. Let's change this to 85. Okay, that looks good. That looks like it's working. And I guess I could also do, like, let's say 3 out of 4. Okay, and that looks like it's working too. 2 out of 4 is a half. Yeah. Okay, that's a quarter. Yeah, okay, cool. So that is a kind of a cool way of making that little progress indicator. But now we would like to maybe take this a little step further, because I also had like a list of values, which could be interesting. For instance, in an amount of payments that someone needs to make, or maybe an amount of classes that someone needs to take. You might want to see sort of progress like that, or an amount of jobs done or something like that. You can do that as well. So let's take this a step further. Let's just go and go to manage. Let's do progress details. So that's a new table, and let's give that a couple of fields. Let's make it ID. The ID could be a serial number. Then let's do a progress ID FK number. Then let's do a value, which is a number as well. Okay, cool. Let's start with that, and let's add some other stuff later. Let's relate the progress ID to the progress IDFK field, and let's go into the settings so that we can allow the creation of progress detail records, and we can create the progress details if we delete that record from the progress table. Okay, that looks kind of good. Let's edit our layout, and let's put a portal in here. Let's make it narrow because it doesn't need a lot. The values are going to come from progress details, and I'm going to allow deletion and allow vertical scrolling. Okay, the only field I need is the value field, so let's add that to our portal. And I don't like it when FileMaker makes these fields without borders, so I'm going to select this field and set it to the default style in the Styles tab. I want to be able to delete a value as well, so let's just quickly do that with a simple text delete. Oops, and then FileMaker makes that into one of those huge big things, which I don't like. Okay, delete. And now let's go and add our formatting bar so we can make that delete word a little blue and underlined so it looks a bit like a hyperlink. And then I can set this button to have a single step of delete portal row. Okay, cool. And I would like my cursor to change to a hand when I hover over that delete button. Okay, let's exit our layout and let's have a look. I can add stuff. That's cool. Okay, now what I need to do is I need to add up all of these values. So I can do that with a very simple field, file manage database, and in my progress details table, I can just add a simple s_sum value, or total, I could just call it total, and I will make this into a summary field. That's why I called it s_. Now let's create this one, and let's say I want a total of the value. Okay, that's looking pretty good. So let's edit our layout. Actually, I'm going to align these like so. And then let's copy, alt drag this field up here. Let's choose the s_sum total. Let's just call it total. And then I'll just make these two fields bold so you can see that they are the boss. Okay, 23 plus 10 is 33. That's good. So now we have our, well, this total here is set to 4. Let's set it back to 100. And we're not using this one anymore, so we could get rid of that one. Now we're going to replace basically this one with that one in our progress indicator, which is kind of cool. So let's double click, let's specify, and let's say our progress value is now going to come from progress details, and it's going to be the s_sum total. Very simple, just change that one. Let's hit OK. And then we can now see that 33 out of 100, that looks probably about right. Let's add another 66. And whoops, that actually brings us to 99. Let's delete this one. And let's just add another 33. That brings us to 66. Okay, yeah, that's looking kind of good. Let's maybe delete this one. Let's delete this one. And let's add like 40. That brings us to 50 out of 100. Looks kind of half and half. So yeah, that's looking kind of good. Our progress indicator is updating nicely. And if I delete something, it updates as well. So that's kind of cool and kind of interesting. Maybe let's see if we need to add something more. Yeah, okay, because we might be using numbers here, which is easy, but you might also have a certain amount of jobs. Let's say, for instance, let's see if we can make a little variation to this. Okay, let's say an amount of jobs done. So let's have a job. Let's have a job and let's have tasks done. So we have a job and tasks. Okay, a job is going to be very simple. You will have an ID, which is a number field, a serial number. Okay, and then we'll have a job name, which is going to be a text field. Okay, that's pretty simple. And then let's say for that job we have a certain we have tasks that we need to do, and we want to know what kind of a percentage of jobs have been completed. So we would like to start with an ID, which could be a serial number. Then we will do a task, which is a text. Then we will have, let's say, a well, let's just keep it like this for now. Task. Okay, cool. Oh, a status of the text. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Let's get it done. Let's go to our job layout, and then let's first go to file manage database because we need to relate those two together. So we have a job and we have tasks for that job. Let's attach the ID. Whoops, I forgot in my tasks to create a job ID FK. So let's do a job ID FK as a number field. Kind of cool. So let's relate our job ID to our job ID FK. All of this is very simple stuff. You guys know this already. So this way we can create tasks from the job table. Okay, cool. So we are in jobs. We're going to create a new job. Okay, so let's create a job, and the job is build tree house. Okay, so now we need to do a bunch of tasks. So let's edit our layout and let's build relate here a portal. Let's create a portal of tasks. Very simple. Let's allow the deletion and allow vertical scrolling. Cool. What do I need? I need the tasks and the status. Let's say that the task is going to be, I hate that these don't have borders, so I'm going to set them to default. Let's say the task is a simple text field. Let's say the status is a drop down, maybe. A drop down. Okay, so create a plan. Should be first, right? Let's create some labels here. And then we can alt drag this over here, and then we could have the status. Create a plan. Okay, and the status then needs to be either what shall we say? Shall we say in progress or complete? Let's make a nice little drop down. Let's make a pop-up menu, which is called status, and we can say in progress or complete, or we could just have a checkbox. How about that? Let's just make a complete value list, and let's just make this checkbox. Let's keep it simple. All right. Okay, cool. Very simple. A simple complete checkbox, so we can check if something is complete or not. I always dislike that these they always look a little different in the way they're set up. So what I usually will do, yeah, let's leave it like this right now. Let's keep it simple. Buy wood, and let's saw boards, and so forth and so forth. So we'll have a bunch of tasks and a bunch of stuff we need to do. What we can do now is count the total amount of tasks we have, and then count the amount of tasks that are complete. If we do that, we will get a nice ability to create a progress indicator for that as well. So let's try and figure out how we can do that. So in our tasks, we can count the total amount of tasks. We can do an S count ID. We're going to count the ID field because that's a field that's always going to have a number in it. So let's do a summary. Let's create that, and we're going to create the count of the ID field, and that will give us the total amount of tasks. So that's cool. And then what we're going to do is we're going to count as well the status, but we don't know yet. Actually, we can probably count status like this. Let's try that out as count status. Let's do the count of status. And I think it's only going to count the ones that have a value in them, but I'm not sure because I usually create some sort of an in-between field. But let's try this out. For a second, let's add these fields from tasks, scount ID, and let's add scount status. Let's see if these work. Okay, yeah, this is working, so that's cool, kind of cool. It's just counting the amount of complete, and we have the total of tasks. Okay, kind of cool. One thing that you're noticing, however, though, is when I check the complete box, the total just kind of disappears until I click outside. And that's of course because as soon as I enter this field, I'm kind of editing this field, and it's only being saved after I click out of it. So in order to kind of deal with that, what we need to do is we need to create a little script that forces us to save the value as soon as I've changed it. It's a very simple script called commit record with exactly that script step, a commit record script step. Now the dialog can be off, so that's good. Now this is probably enough. We might also need to refresh, but let's not do that for now. Let's just use a commit step. Let's save this script and let's attach this script to this field as a script trigger. So as soon as we modify this field, because it's a checkbox, I can do that. I can commit the record. Now, if this is a field that you're going to be typing in, then you cannot use the onObjectModify, because then this is going to be triggered every single time that you enter a character. So if you want to type in a word, this is going to be triggered the whole time. Then you need to use an onObjectSave or onObjectExit script trigger. But now, because it's just a simple checkbox, I'm only going to click it, and that one-time click is going to change the value, and that can then run this little script. So let's try this again now. If I click this here, you can see that this updates right away, because as soon as I modify this field, it gets committed, so it gets saved. And this one updates right away now. Okay, cool. So now I can use these two values. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my progress here to kind of steal this. I'm going to steal this HTML right there. I'm going to paste it in here. And then I'm going to double click it so that I can specify and change these values. So my total is from the tasks scount ID, and then my scount status is going to be, oops, I think I've done something wrong. This is the value. The value is this one, and this is my total here. That's my total. The count ID is the total amount of tasks, and this is the actually completed tasks. Okay, let's try this out and see what gives. There you go, all complete. Okay, so this way you could also, and then we can just kind of make it a little prettier by getting rid of these, making this a little bit smaller. We do need like a little delete option there, but as you can see, and as we add stuff like by nails, by paint, hammer nails into wood. As you can see that our as we start adding stuff, of course our progress indicator becomes smaller, and every task becomes a smaller percentage of the whole. But it does seem to be working pretty well, and it looks kind of cute. And of course you could also make a list layout. So let's do a go shopping, buy bread. This doesn't make any sense, of course. Buy milk. If you want, you could also now go to edit layout. Let's create a new layout, and you can make for the job, of course, a list layout. And then you can do that same thing. So you can just put the job on there. I'll just make this really quick. Job. And then you can add that progress indicator as well. So you can steal this one. I'm going to copy it and put it on my layout. There, you can probably make it a bit smaller, but probably not very much. And so you can see they do seem to be pretty much the same now. So let's go and there, change this one a little bit. Yeah, see, so now you can see a list of all your tasks and kind of a list of jobs, and you can see the progress for each single job. So I don't like this delineate, so I'm gonna check this off. Okay, cool. So you've got a list of your jobs, and you can see the progress per each job. And then of course in here in the job detail view, you can just mess around with this stuff a little bit. Okay, so that was, I think, a fun little thing. It's kind of simple, but at the same time, it's kind of complicated to get all of these quotations and the ands and all that stuff right, and commenting out all of these quotations, so it looks a bit weird. But once you get it kind of right, I think this is a pretty cool, kind of neat little trick to kind of give you a nice little visual representation of a progress of a job, or amount of students present, amount of tasks done, or amount of exams completed, etc., etc., etc. So fun stuff. All right, bye. If you guys want to learn a ton more about FileMaker, you can head over to my Udemy page where I've got a bunch of entire FileMaker courses online. You can follow them, and basically we make entire FileMaker systems from scratch, and I'll take you on the entire process step by step. There is even one that is completely free, so you can just follow that free of charge, and that is a beginner tutorial where we make an entire contacts database. That's a really fun one that you can follow that can teach you the basics of FileMaker. So head over there by following the links in the description, and I'll see you guys there.